Welcome back to the HR session. The quality education is our motto. Where today's session, where I am going to discuss with you about the personality types, the uh, four scale dictominies on the type theory, and the two possible choices for each scale, where I am going to discuss today. And more so, along with this, I will try to discuss with you about these various factors also which affect to these. Okay, so in this we are going to discuss about the another theory of personality, that is the Carl Jung merge bridge type indicator instrument theory. And in the last session I had a discussion with you about the 5 big trait theory. In this Carl Jung Meyer bridge type indicator, where we have extraversion, sensing, thinking, judging, and introversion, intuition, feeling, and perceiving. Though if for the psychology students I can go in the detail that we have what kind of personality we have the variety of the personality instruments, the personality tools are there through which we can easily find out what kind of personality I have, what kind of personality you have. But in the today's session I am not going to let you know how to judge that or how to calculate that. Like some people have the personality of INJF, they are actually known as counselors. The counselors usually must have those kind of the skills. Okay, but extraversion is who are extraversion and introversion. These preference represents where you find the energy, right? So E is energizes by interacting with the other people. I, introversion, is energizes by the time alone. So extroverted type typically they have wide social network. Introverted they have more narrow range of relationship. And in this Carl Jung, the preference has nothing to do with social skills. Many introverts they have the excellent social skill. They prefer the internal world of idea, thought, concept. Extroverts they represent approximately in case of US population, if I talk about, more than 70% they are extroverts. In India, round about 50%. Okay, so introverts prefer to those who concentrate quietly, think things through privately. They are detail oriented. They do not mind working on the project for long time, but they dislike these interruptions. They dislike any sort of the troubles. Okay, so next is your, I hope this is clear, extraversion and introversion. Then we have the sensing and intuition. Sensing definitely though are very practical, specific, very detailed, very concrete. Whereas intuition is journal, they are abstract, they are hidden clouds. So sensing preference or the intuition preference, that is the perception of information gathering. Sensing is pays attention to the information gathered through 5 senses and to what actually exists. And intuition is sixth sense, what could be rather than to what actually exists. So this is the difference in both. And intuition जो है intuitive type, like solving new problems, are impatient, routine details, enjoy learning new skills more than actually using it. So they tend to think about several things at once, and they may appear absent minded. So they like figuring out how things work just for fun of it. Next is your thinking and feeling. So thinking, feeling preferences that describes the way we prefer to make the decision. So thinking makes the decision, to the logical objective fashion, and feeling is a decision which is personal, value oriented. So the difference in this is there, and if it is the one preference in type theory, and that has a strong gender differences in the thinking type tend to analyze the decisions, feeling type sympathizes, thinking tries to impersonal, feeling is totally based on the decisions, how outcome affect on the people involved, right? So this is the difference. So thinking is analytic, clarity is there, justice is there, rules are there, whereas feeling subjective, harmony and full heart is there. So next is your this judging and perceiving. So judging and perceiving is which reflects one orientation to the outer world. Judging loves closure, prefer to lead plan, organize lives, live to keep options open. Imagine two peoples are there where the one preference is judging and other one is perceiving. So they're going out to be dinner. So J asks P to choose a restaurant. So P suggests 10 alternatives, and whereas J wants to decide and get on it. So whereas P wants to explore all the options. So I hope you are getting the point. So J types love getting things accomplished, delighted in checking off completed tasks on their calendars. Mind it, my dear friends, that we have 16 types, as I had a word with you, that who is actually the counselor, what kind of the personality policeman have. So all these personality tests we have, and we can easily calculate that too with the help of the personality skill test charts. Either that is ESTJ, where it is either that is ESTJ or it is ETJF. Any test is there, we have on the basis of this we can ascertain 16 combinations and 16 distinct types, right? So next is your the personality attributes. Personality attributes where the locus of control I had already discussed, self-esteem, type A, type B, we have risk aversion, we have risk averter. So locus of control is where the individual generalize the belief about the internal, means the self versus the outside situation, self versus the other situation control, that is locus of control. Though we believe they control what happened to them, they have internal locus of control. Though who believe that the circumstances or the others, they are in the control, they control their fate, that is the external locus of control. So these are more likely to assume the managerial positions. Basically the internal and the externals, they have similar positive reactions to being promoted, which includes the high job satisfaction, job involvement, organization commitment. Internal remains happy, they are more satisfied, whereas the externals are not. They used to believe that this happened because the God has done, this happened because of so and so is responsible, but they are not interested to take the accountability or the responsibility on their own. So this is basically the difference in this locus of control. Then is your self-esteem. Self-esteem is, for example, in case of locus of control, I'm sorry to say that if someone is not promoted, they used to say this thing that because my boss doesn't likes me, so that's why I'm not promoted. This is external, this if this excuse is there, if this point is there. And if someone says this thing that I am promoted because of my hard work, so that means the person is taking the responsibility on his own head, on his own shoulder, that is internal. Okay, self-esteem. Self-esteem is the individual journal feeling self-worth, right? So the positive feeling about themselves, they perceive themselves, they have strengthened themselves, and they have their strengths and their weaknesses. Okay, so the individual with the low self-esteem, they have the low self-esteem, view themselves negatively, and strongly they are affected by what other people think of them, what they compliment the individuals who give them positive feedback and cut them down with negative feedback, right? So this kind of the self-esteem or the self-worth, it is there. Okay, so very high self-esteem, they can be too much to succeed, to get the work done from the team, right? So they are good, they find themselves too good to get the to do the good things. Basically, if I say I love me, I love myself, that is the part of this. So it is strongly affected by the situations, and the success tends to raise the self-esteem while the failures lower it. And then we have type A and type B behavior. Then is type A positive, type B somehow the another sort of a behavior, means the behavior pattern is to ignore. Basically, the type A behavior is which is that kind of personality or that kind of behavior which is very competitive, very urgent, interested to be creative, interested to take the responsibility, interested to take the risk, while vice versa the type B is totally converse of this. The type B is not interested to take any risk, any responsibility. They love to be lazy, indolent, and they love to get the work done from the others. Okay, risk aversion and risk averter. So two things are there, two aspects are there. The individuals differ in the terms of their willingness to take the risk, though who experience, some people experience risk aversion, so they choose the options few risk, familiarity, certainty, and the other, they are the risk takers. Who are the risk takers? Who bear the risk? Okay, so they are the risk takers, and they are more likely to take the lead in the group discussions. They love to take the risk, they love to take the discussions ahead, so they are the risk takers. Okay, and the risk averters are not interested to take risk, they avoid the risk, they put the risk on someone else. So unsuccessful managers, we can say, those are the party of this. Fine, so I hope this much is clear. Okay, so in the next one I'm going to discuss with you about the perception. So what is actually the perception, what is perceive, and what is perception? So it is in this session I'm going to let you know about the perception. Perception is basically the another psychological process which creates the individual differences. So our perception is our understanding of the world around us, is depend upon self. Okay, so primary vehicle through which we can understand ourselves and our world. Perception adds a measuring meaning to the information gathered with our five senses of organ. So that is perception. So we specifically on this focus on social perception, the process of interpreting information about the other person. Virtually all the management activities rely on the perception. Okay, so this is your perception. If I talk about the perception, is the importance of perception, or if I talk about how it deals with, see, it is culturally determined also. Perception is culturally determined too, because based on our cultural backgrounds we tend to perceive the things in different ways. Okay, and if I talk about the perceptions of dissimilarity in the values, so between the CEOs and the top management teams, they lead to increase the conflict, even if in the reality there was not any difference in values, just a perception of it increased the conflicts. Okay, so or on the basis of the selection selection interview, this highlights the importance of perception, the consequence of the bad match between individual and the organization for the both parties. So accurate data must be gathered. even if we value the diversity, which includes the cultural diversity, that is again depends upon the perception is culturally determined. So it depends upon us. Okay, so the perception is, as I said you, it is on the gathered information through sense of organs, and it is social perception, which is the process of interpreting the information, and it is basically based on the discounting principle and the selective perception. Okay, so selective perception is that selectively we are selecting, you know, to certain facts and figures, and on the basis of that we make our own perception, on own belief, and we try to carry on our decision, we try to take the decision on the basis of that. So that's why it is said that the selective perception. Thank you for this understanding and patience, for giving me the time, and in the next session definitely we will proceed further for this perception and the characteristics and models. Thank you, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel.